A very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the last lecture of the first semester. And we are dealing with one of the last type of biomolecules in this particular section, which is carbohydrates. We started with the basic introduction part in our last lecture itself, and we are going to continue the discussion of carbohydrates today. Please understand that the way proteins, nucleic acids, and lipids have been studied to a great extent, a lot of researchers have also invested time in understanding the kind of carbohydrates that are present. And here I would like you all to know about this term called as glycome. So the way you use the term genome, proteome, transcriptome, this is another ome that comes into the picture in biology, which is glycome. Whenever you talk about the term ome, it basically means complete, everything. Okay. So when you use the term genome, it means the entire genetic material of that living organism is what you refer to as a genome. All kinds of proteins which are present in the cell is what you call as proteome. Similarly, all different kinds of sugars which may be either present in the free form or as a part of polysaccharide, that's going to be referred to as glycome. Okay, so inside a cell, what all different kind of sugars can I see? That's going to be a part of glycome of that particular cell. We have already said that carbohydrates are classified as monosaccharides, disaccharides, polysaccharides, and oligosaccharides. And we started discussion of monosaccharide. Here I want you to pay attention to these two structures first. Glyceraldehyde and dihydroxyketone. Both of these terms you have heard in your 12th standard in respiration. The only difference is there used to be a phosphate associated there, and you used to call it as 3-PGAL, 3-PGAL, 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, and DHAP, dihydroxyacetone phosphate. The aldose and ketose concept that we discussed last time, wherein we said that the sugar has an aldehyde group or the sugar has a ketone group, this concept has arisen from these basic two molecules, which is glyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone. Because if you carefully observe, you will see in glyceraldehyde the CHO group present, while in dihydroxyketone, you will see the C double bond O group that is present. And from this, the concept of aldose and ketose has come into the picture. If you see the second row over there, where you see glucose and fructose, you will see a similar group, an aldehyde group and a ketonic group, because of which glucose becomes an example of aldose, while fructose becomes an example of ketose. Similarly, you can also see example of a pentose sugar that is given, because understand that monosaccharides are classified into several types on the basis of the carbon number. You have triose, which means there is 3 carbon. You have tetrose, which means there is 4 carbon. You have pentose, which means there is 5 carbon. You have hexose, which means there is 6 carbon. And you have heptoses, which means there is 7 carbon. So these are all different types of monosaccharides on the basis of the carbon number that they possess. Glucose and fructose both belong to the category of hexoses. But here we are taking an example of pentose now. Both are aldoses, and the difference is that one is ribose and the another is deoxyribose, which means that one oxygen is less. And we have discussed this yesterday, that this will be found in RNA while this will be found in DNA, right? So I hope this concept is clear to you as to why you refer to a sugar as a aldose or a ketose, depending on the group that is present in it. Let's go ahead. Now, this is something that we have briefly discussed during amino acids also, but we need to quickly go through it the way it has been represented in your reference book, which is Leninger. So let me tell you that the first model that you see, which has been labeled as the ball and stick model, that is the way to show the actual configuration of molecules. Okay, so the way the molecules are actually present, okay, the way they are actually in their 3D conformation. So the actual structure is always represented by the ball and stick model. In Fisher projection formulas, these bonds that you see, these are projecting out of the paper towards the reader. Okay, so when I read, these are the ones which are projecting towards me, while these are the bonds which are on the surface of the paper, right? So horizontal bonds are going to project out, while the vertical bonds are on the plane of paper. That's the Fisher projection formula. While the next one, that's perspective formula, is the wedge shaped bonds and the dashed wedges that you can see, because the solid wedges that you could see, that is going to point towards the reader. So these are the ones which are going to project out, while the dashed wedges that you see over here, that is something that is on the plane of the surface of the paper. So the dashed wedges are on the plane, while these solid wedges are the ones which are projecting out. So these are different ways of representing the same structure. You have ball and stick model, which shows you the actual conformation. Fisher projection formula, wherein you have horizontal and vertical bonds on the basis of which you represent the structure. While perspective formula, where you have these dashed wedges and you have solid wedges that comes into the picture. Okay. Now, we have to understand a very, very important concept, that is the concept of epimers. So if you look carefully at the structure of glucose and compare it with the structure of mannose and galactose, you will realize that the molecular formula is going to be exactly the same. There are just slight differences in the way the OH and the H group is represented in these structures at different carbon numbers. Like in this case of glucose and mannose, observe the second carbon. In case of glucose, you could see hydrogen at your left hand side and hydroxyl at your right hand side. And that's exactly reverse in mannose. Can you see that? So that's the only difference that is there, students. That is the only difference that is present over there in its configuration, but it gives you two different sugars because they are differing in their stereochemistry at the second carbon. Similarly, if you compare glucose and galactose, can you tell me where is the difference? It's very simple. It's already highlighted out. So if you compare glucose and galactose, you can see this difference in configuration on the which carbon? Are you all there? Okay, fourth carbon. Yes. So on the fourth carbon, you can see that there is a difference wherein the positions of the hydrogen and hydroxyl group is different. So when there is going to be difference only in the configuration, okay, of the chiral carbon, that's when you call the molecules as epimers. So glucose and mannose become epimers of each other. Glucose and galactose become epimers of each other. Okay, this is a very important concept. Now, normally, you will see several books representing the structure of glucose in different ways. There are some books which will write it as a linear structure, as you can see over here. But there are some books which will represent the structure in this way, in this ring-shaped manner. Okay, and that makes us feel that how can the same structure be represented in two different ways? What is the reason of doing that, right? So ये सवाल आ सकता है. So it is nothing to be confused about. ध्यान से अगर आप लीनियर स्ट्रक्चर को देखोगे जहां पर पिंक किया हुआ है, this CHO, the aldehyde group of glucose and the hydroxyl group on the fifth carbon, इनको अगर मैंने फोल्ड करके समझो आमने सामने लाके कनेक्ट कर दिया तो मुझे ये रिंग शेप स्ट्रक्चर मिलेगा, which is resembling the structure of a chemical called as pyran. Okay, when you fold it in such a way and connect it, it resembles the structure of pyran. That's the reason why the chemical is named as glucopyranose than just writing it as glucose. It is nothing but glucose, but you have rearranged the structure in the form of a pyran, because of which you call it as glucopyranose. समझ में आया क्या किया है? ये एल्डिहाइड ग्रुप को फिफ्थ कार्बन के हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप के साथ मैंने जोड़ दिया है. ये स्ट्रक्चर देखो ध्यान से. तो जो लीनियर स्ट्रक्चर था वो अब एक रिंग शेप स्ट्रक्चर बन गया है, which resembles the structure of pyran, because of which we are using the term glucopyranose. Okay, now this is how after bonding it will look like. जब मैं इन दोनों के बीच में बॉन्ड एस्टैब्लिश करूंगा, this is how it's going to look like, because the C double bond O का double bond will be broken, and this is how the entire structure is going to resemble. But इसमें भी स्लाइड कॉन्फ़िगरेशन चेंजेस दिख रहे. देखो, एक केस जिसमें हाइड्रोजन ऊपर है और हाइड्रोक्सिल नीचे की तरफ है, और दूसरे जगह एग्जैक्टली उल्टा किया हुआ है, राइट? So there is a difference in this case also. Now you have to understand that such a change, such a kind of a change, wherein they differ in their configuration around the carbon atom, which is forming an acetyl or a ketyl group, that's referred to as anomers. They are not called epimers, they are called as anomers. Okay, when they are having this shuffling on the carbon atom, which is part of an acetyl or the ketyl group, we call it as anomers, and such a carbon is called anomeric carbon. So on the basis of the orientation of hydrogen and hydroxyl group on this carbon, you are going to name it either alpha glucopyranose or beta glucopyranose. As you can see in the image, when hydrogen is above and the hydroxyl group is below, that orientation is called as alpha glucopyranose, while the other way around, it is being referred to as beta glucopyranose. Okay. Now, these are both interconvertible forms. Remember that also, which means that you can convert alpha glucopyranose to beta glucopyranose. जैसे आप एक आइसोमर को दूसरे आइसोमर में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हो, जैसे आप ग्लूकोज को फ्रक्टोज में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हो, वैसे ही ये भी आइसोमेरिक फॉर्म्स ही हैं जिनको कन्वर्ट किया जा सकता है. बस इस कन्वर्जन के प्रोसेस को आइसोमराइजेशन ये नाम देने के जगह पर एक अलग नाम दिया गया है, एंड दैट नेम इज mutarotation. What is it called? It's called mutarotation, when you are interconverting these two forms, okay, which are isomeric forms, but you cannot call that process as isomerization. You call it as mutarotation. So remember this, whenever you are going to convert anomeric forms or interconvert the anomeric forms, you are going to refer to that process as mutarotation. So I am repeating, we said that whenever there is a slight change in the configuration, you call it as epimers. But when that change is on a carbon which is a part of acetyl or ketyl group, then you call it as anomers. And we said that these anomeric forms are interconvertible by a process called as mutarotation. Now this is exactly how pyran looks like, and that's why you call it as glucopyranose. Okay, and you can see they have shown you both alpha and beta glucopyranose, wherein you look at the first carbon, you will see the difference in orientation. Similarly, if you have a structure like furan, see the difference between pyran and furan. There is a proper difference in the structure, right? So fructose basically takes up a structure like furan, while glucose takes up a structure like pyran. Okay, So if you have fructose, then you call it as fructofuranose. Alpha and beta forms are possible. Again, have a look at this section. You will see that the orientation is different. So you call it as alpha fructofuranose or beta fructofuranose. So just the orientations are different. The way they are arranged is different. Okay, these are all terminologies. You need not be afraid. There is nothing to be afraid of these structures. Eventually, as you start learning biochemistry, we will teach you the trick of how to remember these things. But right now, just try to understand the concept of what epimers and anomers are. Okay. Now, this you again need not worry. This is just to show you that when you actually use instrumentation techniques to study the structure of sugars, you see such a conformation which resembles a chair, because of which glucose is normally referred to have a chair-shaped conformation, because if you see the structure carefully, it's like an easy chair. Okay, so when you actually subject glucose solution to high-end instrumentation techniques, you will be able to see such a conformation of glucose which resembles the structure of chairs. Now comes the concept of reducing sugars. Have you heard this term, reducing sugars? Yes or no? Have you heard the concept of reducing sugars? So can you
Yes, sir.
reducing sugars? You have done a practicals on the basis of this. So could you tell me what are reducing sugars? So all monosaccharides basically are reducing sugars. There could be some disaccharides which may act as reducing sugars. But mostly all monosaccharides are going to be reducing sugars, right? Disaccharides में कुछ ही है जो reducing sugar की तरह काम करते हैं, जैसे कि maltose, right? And what do they do? Can you tell me? How do the reducing sugars behave? Can you tell me that? Do you know about it? So let me tell you that the name itself comes from its characteristics. Okay, you need to understand as to why are they being referred to as reducing sugars. There is a reason why you are referring to them as reducing sugars, because they can be oxidized, okay, by relatively very mild oxidizing agents like ferric ions, cupric ions, okay, and that is the basic reason why the moment you expose these monosaccharides to ferric ions or cupric ions, you will see that the carbonyl carbon immediately gets oxidized to carboxyl group, like in this particular case. You can see here what is happening. Glucose is being exposed to cupric ions, okay, and you can see what is going to be the consequence. It is being converted into gluconic acid. You can see the difference here on the first carbon carefully. पहले aldehyde था, अभी देखो क्या हो गया है, COO minus, okay, which means you have converted this aldehyde group to a carboxyl group. So you have converted glucose to gluconic acid. Okay. Now please understand that this is the basic way by which you diagnose the concentration of sugar in urine samples, even in blood samples. Why? Because this is the method for diagnosing diabetes. You just need to depend on a chromogenic substrate which will give you color, and the intensity of the color will indicate as to how much sugar is present in urine or blood sample. Even the Benedict's test that you have learned in practicals, that is dependent on the reducing sugars only, that can detect reducing sugars only. Okay, it cannot detect any other kind of sugars. It will be able to detect only reducing sugars. There are a lot of such chemical reagents, like even DNSA, dinitrosalicylic acid, which can detect only reducing sugars. It will not be able to detect polysaccharides or disaccharides which do not act as reducing sugars. Now, this is something that we discussed already, and I told you to read and come as to what is the difference between alpha glycosidic linkages and beta glycosidic linkages. Did you read? Are you writing anything in the chat box? Let me come back. Yeah. So did you read anything about alpha and beta glycosidic linkages? Nothing. Did not read anything about it. So students, please remember that alpha glycosidic linkage is going to be formed when both the carbons that are involved in making this bond is having similar kind of stereochemistry, so similar configurations. Okay, but if both of them have different configurations, then in those circumstances, let me tell you that you will see that there is going to be a beta glycosidic linkage that is involved. Okay, so if there are different configurations of both the carbons involved, then you call it as beta glycosidic bond. And if they have similar kind of configuration, then you are going to refer to the bond as alpha glycosidic bond. Now let us see what it basically means. Okay, so if the configurations are going to be different, like in this particular case, you can see that the configurations are different, wherein here it was OHH and here it was HOH. But see in the earlier case, how it was similar configurations. Can you see that? Okay, but here the configuration has changed because it was OHH and HOH. So because the configurations are different, the kind of bond is beta. While if the configuration is the same, the kind of bond involved is going to be alpha. Okay, so the configuration decides what kind of bond is going to be involved. So here also you can see that if configuration is similar, you have alpha linkages. If configuration is different, like in case of lactose, you are going to have beta linkages. Okay, so to break these bonds, the kind of enzymes that you will need will be different. To break alpha glycosidic bond, the kind of enzyme that you will need is different as compared to the enzyme that will be needed to break a beta glycosidic bond. The same enzyme you cannot expect to do the breaking task for all kinds of bonds. That doesn't work like that. Okay, fine. Now you are going to tell me about what are homopolysaccharides and heteropolysaccharides very quickly. Yes, Weber, very good. When you have hydroxyl group below the plane of glucose and when you have hydroxyl group above the plane. Yes. So it's basically going to be difference in configuration in terms of beta, right? Okay, so anyone can tell me about homo and heteropolysaccharides? I'm sure you will be knowing about this. This is very simple. What do you mean by homopolysaccharides? Let us start with that. That's the simplest one. Very good. Made up of same sugar, made up of same monomers. Yes, excellent. Vaibhavi, Gaurang, Sara, Devendra. Can you give me examples of homopolysaccharides? I'm sure you know some. There are so many actually, common ones. बेटा ग्लूकोज होमोपॉलीसैकेराइड का एग्जांपल कैसे होगा? ग्लूकोज तो मोनोसैकेराइड है ना. होमोपॉलीसैकेराइड का एग्जांपल दो. सेल्यूलोज, वेरी गुड. ग्लाइकोजन, एक्सीलेंट. अरे सिंपलेस्ट वन रह गया, स्टार्च, राइट? Starch, glycogen, cellulose, all these are homopolysaccharide examples because all of them have the same monomer. That's what glucose. Can you give me example of heteropolysaccharides? Let me see. Anyone? This also you should know because you have studied it. Starchios, okay. Beta galactose is not polysaccharide. Galactose is a monosaccharide. बेटा लिपिड्स कैसे कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स में आएगा जश? अरे बाप रे, तुम लोग ग्लाइकोलिपिड्स को यहाँ क्यों लेके आए हो? वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट हेटेरोपॉलीसैकेराइड्स. हेटेरोपॉलीसैकेराइड मतलब sugar units are different. We are not talking about lipids and proteins being involved here. एक शुगर यूनिट नहीं है, यानी अलग अलग शुगर यूनिट से आई एम फॉर्मिंग बेसिकली. ग्लोबुलिन इज अ प्रोटीन. Globulin is a protein. So how can you classify it as, you know, a heteropolysaccharide? Raffinose, Gaurang, let me tell you, it's a trisaccharide, beta. So I cannot call it as polysaccharide because for poly, you know, it has to be many, right? So 3 is nothing, basically. Very good. Hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is something that you have studied in your 12th standard. Do you remember where have you studied it? You remember where have you studied it? Very good. Pectin, excellent. Pectin is another heteropolysaccharide. Plant-based. Hyaluronic acid is animal-based. Can I say that? Where do you find hyaluronic acid? Very good. It's not in the sperm head. No, it's in the wall of your oocyte. And that's the reason why you need hyaluronidase, which is in the sperm head. Confuse mat karo. Hyaluronidase is the enzyme which is needed to break down the hyaluronic acid component. So hyaluronic acid is the component which is present on the oocyte, and the enzyme to break that down, which is hyaluronidase, is present in the sperm head. See how easily we confuse things, no? It's really funny at times that our brain works in such a way that we just link words and then we forget that where exactly was it, and it becomes so funny. But it's okay. You at least tried to recollect where you have learned it. That itself is a very big thing. Okay, so some of the most common ones that you will come across as polysaccharides is going to be starch, glycogen, cellulose, chitin, hyaluronic acid. These are the most common ones. Okay, and you will time and again speak about these as you go ahead, because you will be speaking about starch degraders, cellulose degraders, chitin degraders, in terms of microorganisms who will have this ability to break down these components effectively. And I've already told you the characteristic feature of chitin, that chitin is that polysaccharide which has the ability to, or rather which is an exception because it contains nitrogen. So please remember that as well. Okay, so that's a brief thing about carbohydrates, which you can read from Leninger. And there are some things that we need to discuss before we stop, because this is our last lecture. As far as 2 small concepts are left, which are the basics of chemistry and water, I will put up a recording very soon on the classroom for the same. It's not going to be very huge. So just view that within this week so that this entire unit is done. The major concepts are done: carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. Okay, so don't worry. The rest of the part, I will put small videos on the YouTube playlist. So please watch that. And there is something that we need to talk about: the theory exams. I'm sure that you may be having several questions regarding how the exam is going to be. So exam is going to be MCQ based. Okay, it is going to be MCQ based. And you are going to get questions of 1 and 2 marks. Okay, but all are multiple choice questions. You have to just choose the correct answer. For 2-mark questions, it might be, slightly bigger questions and interpretation based questions wherein you have to apply the concept that you have learned. So you will have to be a little careful. Read the question again. 2 बार पढ़ो इससे पहले कि आप आंसर पे जंप करो, 2-3 बार क्वेश्चन अच्छे से पढ़ो. Okay, ensure that you have understood the question and then choose your correct answer. Okay, हर यूनिट में से आपको 8 क्वेश्चंस 1 मार्क के पूछे जाएंगे. 8 क्वेश्चंस 1 मार्क ईच per unit. Okay, and 6 questions 2 marks each per unit. तो आपको ऐसे हर पेपर में 3 यूनिट्स है, तो यानी कि 8 into 3 24 1 मार्क क्वेश्चंस होंगे, एंड 6 into 3 18 क्वेश्चंस जो है वो 2 मार्क्स के होंगे. Okay, so 18 into 2, that's going to give you like 36, right? 36 and 24. So that brings the total number to 60. समझ में आया है क्या? So there are going to be 24 1 mark questions and 18 2 mark questions, and you are going to have a time of 1 hour, 60 minutes. It will again happen on the Ekalavya platform. Okay, so the questions will be jumbled. Okay, so don't expect that you will get questions in the sequence of the units. No, that's not going to happen. They are going to be jumbled up. Okay, so do not get worried, do not get confused. Read the questions twice, thrice, and then select your option. Okay, don't make a hurry. So beta, gamma globulin is a glycoprotein. Why don't you understand this? Gamma globulin is a glycoprotein. Okay, there is a it's like a glycoconjugate. You cannot call it as a polysaccharide. We were discussing about examples of polysaccharides, Tanvi. We were not talking about protein or glycoprotein. Do you understand that? So how can you consider, and what is a polysaccharide? A polysaccharide needs to have n number of sugar units, right? So दो sugar से क्या होने वाला है? Will you be able to call it as a polysaccharide? Yes or no? Have you understood it now, Tanvi? Why it's not a polysaccharide? It's a glycoprotein. See, glycoproteins, glycolipids are several. Even on RBCs, you have sugar conjugate based components, but they are not polysaccharides. No, polysaccharides means you need to have multiple sugar units. Barabar. I hope now it makes it a little clear to you. Okay, so where was I? I lost my track. Where was I? Can someone tell me what was I speaking about? Yeah, exams that I know, Vaibhavi, but what point I just lost the track. Yeah, 60 marks. Okay. So what you need to understand is that first and foremost, in MCQ exams, it's like I always tell students, it's a yes and no situation, because in theory exams what happens is that 6 मार्क का क्वेश्चन होता है, तो आप अगर समझो एक 10-15 लाइन में लिख देते हो, तो वो ऐसे अगर उसमें कुछ सेंस है, लॉजिकल है, तो भले ही वो करेक्ट आंसर ना हो एग्जैक्टली, बट इफ इट इज रिलेटेड टू द कॉन्सेप्ट, वी आर बाउंड टू गिव यू फ्यू मार्क्स. तो कैसे होता है कि ऐसे नहीं पढ़ा होगा तो भी धक्का मार मार के 24 तक पहुंच जाते हैं. बट एमसीक्यू को ऐसे मत समझना. डोंट टेक एग्जाम लाइटली, बिकॉज अगर आप गलत आंसर दे देते हो तो वो मार्क्स गया आपका. उसमें आधा ऐसा कोई कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं है. इट्स 1 or 0, इट्स 2 or 0. Okay, so if you are making a mistake in a 2 mark question, the 2 marks are gone. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So you need to be very careful. So don't take this exam lightly, because you know, getting a KT, people would have told you that array degree mein KT milta hai, you can still go to the second year. But believe me that it's not something which is going to look good on your mark sheet. You've got a KT. It's not good. Okay, we should try to avoid it. And moreover, those KT exams are going to be very close to your second semester exams. So will you invest time in preparing the second term examination, or will you invest time in preparing for your KT papers? So it becomes difficult. Okay, so see to it that you take efforts, you put in your time in studying concepts well. There's going to be nothing out of the syllabus. Remember this very clearly. Syllabus के बाहर या जो आपको पढ़ाया गया है उसके बाहर कुछ नहीं पूछा जाएगा. जो पढ़ाया गया है उसको ध्यान से पढ़ो. आपको मैंने रेफरेंसेस बताए हैं, प्रेजेंटेशंस अपलोड किए हुए हैं क्लासरूम पे, तो हमने कितने एक्सटेंट तक वो टॉपिक डिस्कस किया है ये आपको पीपीटी से पता चलता है. So don't invest time in reading the entire thing from the book during exam. You can read it later. You should read it later. But during the exam, you should know where to limit yourself. Nahi to it is an unending ocean. So don't burden yourself. Be smart when you do your preparation. Be smart. You need to be street smart in preparing and understanding how much time and effort I am investing in this section. So understand the concepts better. Don't sit and ratify things. It's not going to help you. Whatever we have discussed, उसी में से ही question आएगा. उससे बाहर कुछ भी आने वाला नहीं है. So read the references properly. If you feel that you have queries while you're preparing for the exam, feel free to message. I will be more than happy to solve your questions. Okay, there is nothing wrong in asking doubts except for during the time of the exam. Okay, so feel free to ask questions. Even during the examination, if you face technical issues during the micro papers, if you are facing technical issues, light chala gaya, kuch to ho gaya, gadbad hua, so feel free to contact me or Varsha ma'am. We are always there. Okay, and मैं उस वक्त फोन बगल में ही रख के बैठता हूँ कि भाई किसी स्टूडेंट को प्रॉब्लम आया तो I should be available. So don't worry at all. I will be available if you are facing any issue during the micro papers. Feel free to contact and I will try my level best to resolve the issue right away. Okay, and please start studying. That's more important. Start preparing. The conditions have not been favorable for you, I understand. You may be having questions, why me? Why I have to go through this? Okay, why am I a guinea pig? ये सब type के questions आ रहे होंगे दिमाग में. But rather than pondering on those kind of questions, let us try to invest our time in preparing ourselves for the exam in a much better way. Right? That will help us more at this point of time, rather than thinking about why me and why this is happening to us and whatnot. Okay, so I am sure that you all will do well. You all have the potential. Just put in efforts for the next few days and I'm sure that you guys will do well. Okay, I am around in case of any questions that you want to ask, and even now if you have any specific questions that you want to clarify about the exam, please feel free to ask. बस क्वेश्चन पढ़ते वक्त घाई मत करना, इतना ही बोलूंगा मैं. क्वेश्चन ध्यान से पढ़ो, क्या पूछा है. घाई करने का नहीं. कभी कभी ना अपने को पसंदीदा वर्ड दिख जाता है जो हमने पढ़ा होता है, फिर उसको लेके हम बैठ जाते हैं, वाह ये इसमें कोई आएगा. बट क्वेश्चन पढ़ो अच्छे से पहले, फिर खुश होना. ओके, तो वो खुशी के चक्कर में डोंट स्पॉइल योर क्वेश्चन एंड लूज योर मार्क्स अननेसेसरी. राइट, सो if you have anything to ask in specific, please let me know, or else we are good to close because I have to immediately rush for a training session. And as I said, I will put the 2 videos on water and basics of biomolecules on YouTube. and please go through them. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Anything that you would want to know? Nothing? Okay, great. All the best. Do well. Keep your stress levels under control. There is no need to be stressed. You all are going to do well. Okay. Thank you so much. It was great time with you guys in first semester, at least for me. I don't know how it was for you. But for me, it was a really great experience teaching you all in the first semester. And if things go well, and if it is stated, we will meet again in the second semester. Okay, chalo. Bye bye, and thank you so much once again. Thank you, Payal.